There's this new wave of fake realists, of doomers who tryna act like your life was determined the second you were born, where basically your genetics play the most important influence in your entire life, whether that's intelligence, muscle growth, a skill in a specific field, your charisma, your confidence. Basically, the most important factor is your genetics, and this idea is called genetic determinism, and it has been largely disproven by most of science that it's complete bullshit when it comes to humans. Genetics play a role, but environment plays equally as important, if not even more important role, and genetics truly depend their influence on the environment. But the problem is that those fucking doomers, those fucking losers, penetrated the self-improvement space and they tried to demotivate these young men and say that it's basically over, those fucking loser black pillars. So that's why I make this video, to first of all just disprove it with simple examples of how it simply just wrong, and then also explain how retarded this idea and obsession over things that aren't in your control and how it actually doesn't serve you at all. The experiment that disproved genetic determinism, meet the Poglar sisters experiment. There was in the 60s this Hungarian psychologist, this short name is Poglar, where basically he believed, after studying geniuses throughout history from Socrates to Albert Einstein, that geniuses aren't born, they are made. And to conduct an experiment to prove his radical hypothesis, he contacted a Ukrainian teacher where basically they decided to marry, create fucking 3 kids. I know it's not create, but basically have 3 kids and emerge them into a specific field to prove that it's not about genetics, it is about hard work and environment. The field that they chose was chess, and the results of the experiment, after a lot of hard work and environmental obsession and love for the art of chess, every daughter was hyper successful in the chess world. Everybody was like world class chess players, and the youngest one, which ironically was considered the least talented, actually became the best and the youngest grandmasters, even before Bobby Fischer. And basically this experiment proved, of course I can go in more details, but the general premise is that this principle proved that it's all about this young immersion from a young age, that this hard work and obsession with the craft. And although this is just one experiment, you can see this pattern almost everywhere. Footballers, fighters, basketball players, all of these motherfuckers start training from a young age. Of course, fighters are an exception because you can come with like a fast twitch muscles and all of that stuff, but generally fighting is just a bit more complex. But most sports like basketball, like fucking football, need you to start from a young age, and the talented individuals aren't the fastest, aren't the fucking ones who have this biological advantage, but rather the ones who just have this innate talent, and this talent is developed from obsession, from repeating the patterns again and again and again. This is a skill, this is environmental. And my second point is purely hypothetical, and that is the fact that bad genetics simply don't exist. Almost. You see, in every generation there are mutations, and there are bad maladapting variant of certain genetics which cause certain mutations that are inherently objectively bad. But at the same time, most of these genetic determinist scopers want to argue that you simply just inferior, that you're less fast and that you're less this, and basically you're just inferior from your genetics. But one thing you have to understand, many genetics are just working opposite advantages and disadvantages. A person who is fast, as an example, maybe has fast twitch muscle fibers, which causes him to produce a lot of force really quickly. But at the same time, this guy is actually less likely to sustain endurance running because he burns out really fast and he doesn't have the slow twitch muscle fibers. A person who is tall maybe have more physical advantage, but at the same time he requires more calories. Most of these genetics that people say are bad or good depending on the environment. If being tall was just superior overall, everybody would evolve to be tall. But the reason why not everybody is because you simply need to sustain it with a lot of calories, and it has its risk, and the ROI not always good, right? Now, my third point isn't an argument against genetic determinism, but rather a framework to how to think about the argument of genetics versus environment so you can actually maximize your own success. You see, there is a need to acknowledge the importance of genetics. How contradictory it can sound, some fields do require an acknowledgement of its importance. You see, if you are 160 centimeters and you are slow as fuck, you're probably not meant for the NBA, okay? We all know it. But at the same time, many fields don't actually require the same biological innate ability and innate talent. A lot of fields don't require for you to be fast. A lot of fields don't require from you to fucking, have certain biological capacity that is just innate to you. And in those fields, you can actually not give a single fuck and delude yourself that you can do everything if you just put your will into it, because this mentality has been shown to make you work harder, to give you more motivation, to increase your dopamine, basically maximize your work and your environment. But there is also a key distinction. We look at ourselves as just inferior from those fields. Maybe there are fields that you're simply better than other people. Maybe you have some innate ability to have a certain, skill. Maybe you're just a very good endurance runner. Basically, the third thing is that you need to look for the things that you just naturally good at, things that you are better than other people just naturally. So the framework of the genetics versus environment should be acknowledge and accept what you cannot control, and acknowledge where you are good at and where you are bad at. And two, once you acknowledge these fields and actually pick a field that is congruent with your innate ability, then don't give a single fuck about genetics and focus all of your time and energy into the things that you can actually control, and even delude yourself into thinking that you can do everything if you just pull your will into it, because that will maximize your productivity, your work, and your progress.